Okay, well, here we go again. I've been able to wrangle another AmeriCorps alum to sit and chat with me for who knows how long this will go on. So I'm really excited because we're here with Shawdae Harrison. And fun fact, she actually served in the AmeriCorps program that I served in, and I was the director at the time that she served. So this is like a mini reunion for us, and I'm so excited to be connecting. And also, another fun fact is we didn't even connect about the podcast. We originally connected about my daughter's looking for an internship,
Yeah.
and I reached out to Shawdae. So, this is how the AmeriCorps Alumni Network works. It's like,
Mhm.
who do I know, or who knows somebody that knows somebody?
Right.
So I'm going to go through my notes. Welcome to AmeriCorps Connections, where we catch up with AmeriCorps alumni to reflect on their service term and learn what they are up to now. I'm motivated to do this podcast because I know how transformational that my service year was. And it wasn't only through the service that I did, but it was through the networking that I created and that I'm continued to create throughout my service within AmeriCorps and tangentially within AmeriCorps. I want to keep those connections going. So each week I get the honor of chatting with AmeriCorps alums and learning about their service year and the good work, learning about their service year, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, the crying, all of the above. And then, yeah, what they're totally up to now. These are a few things that I've found out about alumni through these interviews. And this is where some of them have landed. Oh, I don't know, producing Netflix shows, website designers. Somebody's in like security, like physical security. And I think, yeah, physical security, pharmaceutical research and research trials. Someone works at the Nature's Conservancy, and several are still in AmeriCorps programming. Surprise,
Nice.
surprise. Yeah. So I've also spoken with alumni in California and New Mexico and Colorado and Seattle and Wisconsin, and most recently in Germany. So I know this is a stateside service, but after our service year, we're all over the place. So
Right.
this podcast is officially international. Before we get started with our special guest today, I want to give a shout out to Dan Medevere from Time or Money Productions. He provides hosting and production consulting for this AmeriCorps Connections podcast. And this is how we get this on every single podcast platform, is through Dan's help, and he is an AmeriCorps alumni, so I so appreciate his support.
Oh,
And again, I know, and again, this is how like this should be working. Okay, and so that's all of the announcements that I have. Today we're talking with Shawdae Harrison, and we're in Maryland, and I already spilled the beans that we already know each other. And Shawdae served at UMB Cures, and I'll let you go ahead and tell what that does, what that program is, and dive into that.
okay.
And at the end, we have a little special something that she's diving into, a little, oh, I don't know, hysteria with terrariums, but we'll get there. But we got to take the full journey first. So, Shawdae, if you can just start by telling us when you served, where you served, and then why you served, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, first, before I even start, I want to say thank you for having me, Nikki. I'm so happy and honored to be part of this podcast because I don't know, connecting AmeriCorps members through all the wealth of resources and knowledge we have together is an amazing cause. So thank you for putting that together. I'm Shawdae. I served in AmeriCorps, specifically Volunteer Maryland, in 2018, I believe. It seems so long ago.
Yeah, I think it was then. Look at,
Yeah,
I'm like, yes, that's exactly when.
that's the date. Yes. No, I'm sure it was 2018. And I am a Baltimore native. I'm from Baltimore, born and raised here, and have a lot of the experiences that people born in Baltimore have. Like, I come from a really big family, and all growing up, my way to stand out in my family was to do good in school. So I did really great, got great grades and had the opportunity to go to Hopkins, and I got a degree in public health and psychology. So, like many other people who go to college after their first year, you're kind of stuck wondering, like, what do I do from here? And I was one of those people where my degree kind of niche. Now that I think about it, and when you're looking for an entry level position out of college, it's like, what do I do? So I found myself doing what I could to pay the bills. Like I worked in retail. Oh, I was saying that I'd worked in the retail space. I'd worked
Okay.
as a research assistant, and right before I applied to my AmeriCorps Volunteer Maryland program, I was working at a furniture store, and I was selling furniture, having a blast, working with my friends, and it was a lot of fun. But I realized that all of the volunteerism and the extracurricular activities and stuff like that that I'd done in college and high school, I kind of I wasn't a part of. So I felt like I was missing something. So
Mhm.
I instinctively wanted to look for another opportunity and found myself scrolling through Indeed and found an opportunity that literally said, "Are you looking to grow professionally? Are you interested in volunteerism?" And that's how I found the Volunteer Maryland program. Um, and I'd known nothing about AmeriCorps before I applied, but after I went on my interview and learned that there were opportunities for me to serve at sites that would kind of mesh and meld my professional experience with my volunteer experience, I was so excited to apply and kind of get started at Volunteer Maryland. I remember on my first day, like on my interview, talking to Sharon and just being so excited. Who Sharon was the program manager at the time, just being so excited to hear that programs like this existed because it was never on my radar. But yeah, I was just so it was so refreshing to hear. Now they did say it was going to be a stipend program, which I didn't really understand until I got into it. But um, honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. I had the unique opportunity to serve at an educational site. So I served at the UMB Cure Scholars Program, which is a after school program essentially geared toward middle schoolers, but specifically teaching them STEM subjects. So I was in a classroom basically every day with over 150 middle schoolers screaming my name, Miss Shawdae, Miss Shawdae. And I was kind of like thrown into it. Now, I come from a really big family, so I'm used to being surrounded by children and wrangling them. But this was a whole different level. This was a whole different experience. So the CURE program is a unique program that is not only an after-school program, but it's after-school programming from a holistic standpoint. So these kids got to participate in STEM research projects. They got to participate in their programming at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, which is one of the biggest medical systems here in Baltimore. And they got to be paired through mentorship with university students as well as college students to help them navigate getting to that level, to help them navigate potentially going into a career in the medical field. So it was
I remember, yeah, I am just going to interrupt real fast. I remember because, I was I think I was transitioning out of Volunteer Maryland when you started serving, but I remember that program and just being like, wow, identifying middle schoolers. And I think something that's really cool, and you might even be able to speak to this, is that those middle schoolers are graduating now and they're going into college and they're graduating from college. And that was a program that was identifying middle school. And was it only girls or was it?
No, not only girls, but they selected students from a target 3 schools, and those schools happen to be in areas where the kids might not have had access to certain opportunities. So they were very selective in their process, but there was a reason for that. to make sure that the kids who were interested had the opportunity to do all the things they wanted to do.
Mhm.
But yeah, definitely, it was it was an experience, and like you said, the experience of targeting middle schoolers just because of their interest in science and STEM, it was, I feel like it was so valuable to them, and valuable to me. I remember but as I said before, this was way more than just an after school program. These students had access to social workers. We went to HBCU tours, historically Black colleges and universities, to expose students to opportunities outside of Baltimore. And as a kid from Baltimore, a lot of us don't leave, you know. So just having that opportunity of exposing them to things like that. These students did research projects every year where they presented their research at a STEM expo at the University of Maryland to tenured professors. Like it was an intense program for these students, but they got so much out of it. One of my favorite experiences was taking them down to Annapolis so that they could advocate for STEM education in public schools. Like a lot of kids don't get to do stuff like that. So I've never done anything like that. So I just remember it being an experience that not only was, transformative for them, but it definitely shaped me professionally. I was specifically in a position to help pair these students with mentors who were at the graduate and doctorate level. So that's another unique experience that students don't get to get. They ate meals together, they went on trips together, and one of my students was actually featured on Fox 45, the Baltimore news station, because
Okay.
he was doing innovative malaria research. So he got to be on TV, micropipetting in a lab, doing malaria research as an 8th grader. It was really so
Yeah, that can really influence people's lives. And it like the way that you're talking about it, I can see that it's like you're reliving it right now.
I was so happy. and
Yeah.
mind you, it wasn't all, flowers and cupcakes. I remember one week logging 100 service hours. And that's 2 full-time jobs plus 20 hours. So it was intense. I was there all week plus Saturdays delivering food baskets. And this program was it was instrumental to these students. And even when the pandemic happened, we got to transition the program to virtual and still deliver those services to so many students. I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. UMB Cure Scholars Program is an amazing program for anybody who's living in West Baltimore, going to one of these target schools. If you know a kid who would love to take part in an opportunity like that, I highly recommend passing it on.
So after your service year, because you just mentioned the pandemic, but your service year was in 2018. So after your service year, you were picked up by your site, right?
Yeah. So after my service year, I feel like I'd developed so many relationships and I'd grown so much professionally that I was offered a full-time position at UMB Cure as the mentoring program coordinator.
So rad.
And that's really rare for a lot of people who go through their AmeriCorps service year. So I'm just really thankful to have had that opportunity. And I worked at my site for about 2.5 years. Honestly, some of the best times in my life. Like I said, when I was in high school, I was always a part of different extracurricular activities. I had the opportunity to go to Israel when I was in high school. So to participate in like this public relations and international law program. And when I think I just brought it up in a meeting, one of our one of our team meetings at UMB Cure when I was working there, and they made that part of their program to transition students into that international program. So programs like Cure don't they don't exist. Like the way that these students were supported through education, but also like social services and
Mhm.
mentorship, it was one of the best experiences of my life, and it definitely transformed my trajectory from working at a furniture store to managing a school full of kids into managing a program that was going to help pair them with mentors and really set them up for the futures.
Yeah. That is what a great story. And so it's so exciting. Yeah, UMB Cures is such a powerful program. And I think something else I wanted to just circle back with was Dr. Gia Guerrier McGinnis. Did you work with her?
Yeah.
So fun. She what?
She was the executive director when I got hired.
So this is the crazy thing, but this is the point I want to make about AmeriCorps alumni, because she did NCCC. I think she did NCCC. She did an AmeriCorps service year.
She did.
I just had a pre-interview conversation with her. She's going to be featured on the podcast. And professionally, I work with her as well in some of the things that I'm doing with my 9-to-5 job.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, maybe we should have like a Shawdae and Gia kind of like, I don't know, panel or something. But
I would love to see Gia again. She was amazing.
Well, she's at Loyola University now, so she's down the road.
Okay, far at all.
Yeah. So, but I think that's like part of it, right? Like you had a supervisor that was an AmeriCorps member, and you're an AmeriCorps member, and you got hired at the site. And I think that they still are hosting AmeriCorps members to support that program. So, just such a great launching point, and I bet you were killing it in the furniture industry. But I'm very happy that you and for those folks that are listening to this right now and you're in the middle of AmeriCorps recruitment season, just to circle back, Shawdae specifically said, the post said, are you looking to grow professionally? I wrote that down because we're looking for AmeriCorps Vistas right now with our program. So make that your lead in for your recruitment.
Definitely.
So you said that you were at UMB Cures for a couple years, and then where are you now, or what was your next adventure? And maybe just real quick, during your service year, it seemed like you had a really, like through your story, it seemed like you had a really great connection with the students. Was there anybody else that was really influential on maybe taking your next steps or moving on, or the way you think about things, or view life? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only working at Cure that I, got to introduce to all of these wonderful students and families, but the entire administration team and the whole team there were focused on my professional growth and development. And I can honestly say, Dr. Gia Greer McGinnis was instrumental in getting me into professional development courses to move beyond the mentoring sphere and kind of explore what I was really going to be doing after I moved on from the UMB Cure Scholars Program. So, and working at UMB, you get exposed to this entire network of professionals, whether they've been through AmeriCorps, like one of our philanthropy, one of the people who like got us money to the program, JP, John Polinsky.
Yeah, we all know JP.
I know. I feel like we have a connection to as well. The AmeriCorps circle is kind of small, but small but big.
I need to get him on the podcast because he serves as a commissioner on the Maryland Governor Moore's commission for service and volunteerism, but he's also an AmeriCorps alum. I think he did City Year, and so I think that I can get him on the podcast for sure. He's like legend.
Yeah, for sure. Love JP. And in addition to him, another one of the mentors who is still part of the program and was a mentor at the time I was the mentoring program coordinator. They, in a past life, was an engineer and moved on into like the retail plant sphere and opened a plant shop on Charles Street, like a plant shop in Weinbach. And and when he transitioned, I kind of helped and on to transition into that sphere as well. So not only there were like so many professional connections that were developing while I was there, but when I moved on, the connections that I had then transitioned into new ones. No matter how the people developed, whether they were still in that space or moved on to something else, those connections kind of follow you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'm always like, my wheels are turning, like, who do I know? And now, especially because I've had the experience of being at that executive director level for the commission, so being connected nationally, like I'm thinking about who's in which state. Sometimes my conversations that I'm having with alumni, I'm like, oh man, you need to get connected with the Washington State Service Commission. They're really innovative in this sort of area. And again, that's kind of my idea with this podcast, is that like somebody listens to your interview and they're across the country, but they want to do something similar, then they know like that they have somebody in Maryland that they can reach out to have, ask questions about certain things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it will happen. It will happen. Slowly but sure, one interview at a time.
Yeah,
It will happen.
definitely. I mean, just this process of sharing resources, being able to tell people about Cure and all the great work that they do, and how all these nonprofit networks are connected. AmeriCorps, it's like this mycelial network, like that underground network,
Yes.
where you never know what place you touch, where you're going to touch another AmeriCorps member or be connected to them in some way. And that's why I'm so glad that I participated in the program.
We're all the little mushrooms of AmeriCorps. Like we're the little, like the mushrooms are the flowers of the mycelia. So we're all like the little flowers. Like
it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. Just you bringing up Dr. Gia, I'm like, I forgot that she was in AmeriCorps. It shaped so many people that service here. It does more than just. It's more than just professional development. You really gain lifelong connections that will help you in the future, no doubt.
Yeah, during my service year, it gave me confidence.
Yeah.
Like, and I was chatting with somebody the other day, and I was like, I was a mother of two. Like, I was raising human beings, and they were relatively safe for the most part. Sometimes I would let them run around in the woods, and I'd be like, whatever, just be back before the sun comes up or the sun goes down. But I still have like a little bit of imposter syndrome. But after my service year, I was like, oh wow, like I could do the thing. Like I can figure out how to come up with a project and get all the tools and teach somebody how to do it, and then finish it and give them an award and recognize them and do the thing. Right. So yeah, the service year can be transformational on all different levels for people in whatever area that they need a little bit of a boost.
You saying that just helped me remember that I had the opportunity to give the speech at our Volunteer Maryland graduation. And as a person who didn't have a lot of professional confidence at that time, being able to invite my coworkers and to be able to do that in front of the people who I served with, it was just, I mean, that gave me a confidence boost too. Like, not only are the connections beneficial, but I just feel like I grew so much as a human. My Volunteer Maryland class ranged from like 19-year-olds to 60-year-olds. And we all gave each other something. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. This is kind of reminiscing. I hope people are still like listening in, because I feel like right now we're like reminiscing about Volunteer Maryland. But that's one of the things about service, and depending on what type of service program you're in, sometimes you're with people of your similar age, but Volunteer Maryland is one of those programs that I remember we had someone, I don't know if it was during your service year, she was celebrating her like 80th birthday or something, or 70th birthday, right? And I had another one where an AmeriCorps member was serving, and she was getting the education award. She served 2 years. She gave the education award to her granddaughter so she could go to college. Yeah. I know that can actually happen. So folks that are listening to this that are like, I'm too old for AmeriCorps, I don't need the education award. You can, up to 7 years after you serve, you could transfer that to a child or a grandchild. So if you don't want to go back to school.
That's really good to know.
I think if you're over the age of like 55, so you've got some time.
Just a little bit of time.
Just a little bit of time. So, okay. UMB Cures was awesome. Your service year is awesome. Volunteer Maryland's awesome. And then did it take you to what you're doing now?
Yeah. So because I had such an amazing experience in the nonprofit sphere, UMB Cure is a nonprofit program at its core, even though they get all this amazing funding to support all these families. I stayed in the nonprofit sector, and I knew that I wanted to do that because I've been so fulfilled, like helping other people in the community. So right now, I have transitioned to Maryland Legal Services Corporation, which is an organization that funds grantees, other nonprofit organizations that do free pro bono legal services in Baltimore and all across Maryland. So just having the opportunity, just having that wonderful experience in the nonprofit sector and get to see how many lives you touch and how many lives touch you, I wanted to follow along that same path. I knew I wanted to do nonprofit work again. And at MLSC, I'm so happy. Number one, it's 90% remote. So I can't complain there. But you also still get to do this fulfilling work. It's really great for me because I'm not as forward facing. I think I burned out a lot during my service year and years after, just because of the work it took to run a program like that. But yeah, just transitioning from Cure to MLSC in that same vein, that passion for helping others and wanting to see the fruit of your labor really support other people. So I'm program coordinator there, or I'm sorry, operations coordinator there, was program coordinator at Cure. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the transition. And in addition to working my 9 to 5, working on some other things for me as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to get there in 1 second. I want to just circle back to Maryland Legal Services
Yeah.
and just like kind of point out that it's really cool to be in an organization that branches out to other organizations, because if we think about networking, and some people don't like that word networking, it's kind of like stuck in the 80s, but I guess it's like making connections and making authentic connections, right? Like that's the thing that sticks. It's like, I don't know if I said this. I've been having so many conversations. I don't know when I say things, but like you have, like our hearts have like, I think like a, I don't know, 6 foot or something, like energetic field. And so you can feel like a connection when you connect with somebody. And I'm not talking about like falling in love with anybody. It just means that like you can see someone and be like, oh yeah, like we're going to work on a project together or something. And so when you're working with an organization that gives grant money out to other organizations, that ripple effect, and then you get to make those connections, and then that, just kind of builds upon itself, and then it just, and you're sure to find probably an AmeriCorps member within those networks for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I believe our ED is an AmeriCorps alum as well. But just going back to that, the whole like AmeriCorps network, my AmeriCorps, the network that I grew in Volunteer, Maryland, and then moved on to this professional nonprofit network. And I don't know if I would have found out about Maryland Legal Services if I hadn't already been connected in that nonprofit sector. Again, we'll go back to square one. My degree is in public health and psychology. So how I ended up in the legal sphere is another, just note to how that AmeriCorps network who knows where you will go after you finish your service year. You just have you're just introduced to all these new opportunities, and you can be in places that you may have never even seen yourself. If I hadn't finished my AmeriCorps year in 2018, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing right now. I don't know if I would have been connected in that way.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of a net also. Like I feel like I went through a job transition, and I felt like I'm like, okay, who do I know from my network that can help me land softly on this kind of falling out of the sky sort of thing. And not that like everybody's going to be able to like jump through hoops, but somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can do something. Like it's just like that's just the way it is. And as we grow and we start connecting as a network, nationwide, there's like so many possibilities that we can have as just a strong network.
Yeah.
Maybe we can come up with another word.
Yeah. And if you are a person who are like going through that transition right now, you might have finished your AmeriCorps year, you might have been connected to another nonprofit. MLSC is looking for positions. I mean, a lot of them are for attorneys and paralegals, but there are a bunch of opportunities to be program directors or program assistant, program managers at a lot of different nonprofit organizations that we fund. So if you're interested in more opportunities that might fit your nonprofit experience, what you've done during your service year, MLSC.org, we have a resource page full of resources and open job opportunities. So if you're a person who's looking to transition from one nonprofit to another, or interested to dabble in legal services, I'd recommend checking out that page and learn a little bit more.
I'll totally link that in the show notes so that people can find that really easily. Thanks for dropping that. I'm sure people are going to get on that really quick. So that's great. Okay, so this is the best part, like the funnest part of the conversation, because I'm like, okay, so you had your AmeriCorps year, you did the thing, you did it, and you're, we're all having our 9 to 5 or do thing, but we're all dabbling in other things, right? Like this is my 5 to 11, this is my 5 to 11 job. I was up editing a video the other night until like midnight. I'm like, okay, like the first thing I'm going to do when I can is hire an editor. But what are you super jazzed about and excited about on your kind of side stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, my 9 to 5 at MLNC has been going great, but like everybody who has survived the pandemic, I got a side hustle. And during the pandemic, I was able to kind of begin a plant hobby. So I started growing plants on my patio and created a business called Terraria Hysteria, where we
Terraria
make
Hysteria.
terrariums. I know, because we're hysterical about terrariums, Nikki. So I transitioned that hobby into a business. So we focus on creating terrariums and 3D printed planters and educating people about the plant hobby and how it could be beneficial to have something outside of your 9 to 5 to it's kind of like my self-care project that turned into a business. And like I was before, I was only kind of inspired to get into it because another mentor from UMB Cure has started a plant shop right up the street from my house. Stem and Vine Plant Shop is also a wine bar. It's going to be opening soon. If you guys want to check it out, who live in the Baltimore area, it's right. It's close to Mount Vernon. But as soon as the plant shop opens, we're going to be doing terrarium workshops, plant education workshops, so that the people, this is an urban city, so we don't have a lot of access to plants, so people can learn a little bit more about their plant hobby and learn a little bit more about creating tiny ecosystems in your home that you can care for. So my AmeriCorps service year has, in some convoluted way, got me here. Still working in the nonprofit sphere, but it also gave me the motivation and kind of like the courage to move out and do something on my own. I don't know if I would have been able to do that if I hadn't had all of the experiences and the support that kind of led me to where I am right now. So that's my passion project. To learn more about Terrarium Hysteria, you can go to thinklikeplants.com. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the terrarium hobby, I'm having a workshop and vending event, or participating in a vending event called Flower Mart, which is also going to be in Mount Vernon at the Mount Vernon Conservancy, May 5th and 6th. If you'd like to support or just come out and learn a little bit more, or just come out and enjoy that really fun festival, because Flower Mart is great and a big deal.
Is it Flower Market or Flower Mart?
Flower Mart.
Flower Mart. Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
I'll have all of these details in the show notes, and I'll make sure that it's published before obviously the 5th, so that if people are interested, they can make sure that they make plans to get out there.
Yeah.
Now, a terrarium it's closed, right? Like, is it sealed forever?
Not sealed forever, and there are multiple different versions of terrariums. So I make open terrariums that can house a bunch of different plants that'll continuously grow and stuff like that. But I also make closed terrariums that are kind of like this living ecosystem with mosses, and it's not sealed forever. You can open it. It's recommended that you open it to let your plants breathe, and it'll get all foggy if you don't introduce some air to it. But yeah, there are two different versions, and I make both of them.
That's so cool. That's so
It,
cool.
it's really fun. I mean, when you like do what you love as a business, it doesn't feel like work. So, like you said, that 5 to 11 becomes like a 5 to 2 for me because I'm always researching and
I
I'm always,
know.
yeah, I just love it. So I just, yeah, when you turn your passion project to a business, you'll never get bored.
Totally, totally. Well, that's exciting. I'm in full support of Terrarium. I have so many plants around my house. I forget what the kind of plant is, the one that you can like pinch off the leaf and then you put it in water and it can actually just like live in the water. I have so many of those cuttings around my house. Like my
I
daughter's friend came in my house one time, this was a couple years ago, and looked around and he goes, there's a lot of plants and a lot of books.
That sounds like my type of place to hang out. Like I love that.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I'm so happy to be reconnected with you
Mhm.
and learn about what you're up to. And, it's exciting. I love seeing like where people are and learning about what they're up to and supporting wherever I can. Um, my final questions, just to wrap things up.
Yeah. And thank you again. I love that you're doing this, Nikki. Like, if there's any person in the world that can take on this type of endeavor, it's
Oh,
oh, it's you.
thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was such an affirmation. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure that you several times when we were doing the training with Volunteer Maryland, I started off a conversation by saying I was listening to a podcast. I've been
Oh
listening to
yeah. Oh,
podcasts forever.
it's full circle. It's full circle. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like you were the reason I started listening to podcasts daily because you always recommended one. And I'm like, hey, I can get into this.
Yeah, so I appreciate you saying that. So thinking about our this AmeriCorps network, if you could do one thing with this group, um, either locally, regionally, nationally, what would you want to do?
Hmm. Hmm. That's a great question. Um, I think what I would like to do with this humongous network of AmeriCorps members is maybe start like a resource website or job board for people who who may be finishing their AmeriCorps year and don't know what's next. It's like a lot of people come to AmeriCorps for like that professional development and that experience in that sector. And then after the year is done, I'm no longer connected to my site. I've made all these great connections, but I might not know where to apply or what to go next. So I just wanted, if there was some way we can just share all the resources and ways that we're connected to each other just to make it easier for people to transition from their service year, because I was in a great place where I got hired at the state, but some people don't get that opportunity. So like, what's next for them?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that, reflecting back on what I said at the very beginning about the AmeriCorps members who are doing so many different things. And I
Yep.
think that is something that's super important when we think about the network is some of us get hired by our service site, and it might be like I got hired by mine. It was, recreation and parks and kind of environmental stuff, and you got hired by you. And it doesn't have like we could corporate social responsibility, CSR right now in corporations and companies and businesses, large and small, they're all trying to figure out how to like help their employees feel purpose.
Mhm.
And we all went through that work during AmeriCorps. So we'd be great people. So I love that idea. And I know Service Year Alliance is working on some of these pieces. So there are some national networks that are building these out. But we got to make sure that we touch the AmeriCorps members and say, hey, what are you up to? And engage them in that. So
Right.
as we close, how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about terrariums, or if they have questions about Maryland legal services or anything that you brought up, UMB Cures? What's the best way?
Yeah, you could reach out to me via email. If you just have questions about like UMB Cure or MLSC, I'd be more than happy to reach out, answer any questions that you might have via email. And it's my first name dot last name at gmail.com. If you wanna learn more about the jobs at MLSC, some of those professional postings, you could go to mlsc.org in order to learn about and apply for some of those jobs. If you're at a nonprofit that does legal services, go to mlsc.org and apply for our grant opportunities because we got funded. So go ahead and apply. If you want to learn more about terrariums, you could go to thinklikeplants.com, or you could go to our Instagram page, Terraria_hysteria, and connect.
I love it. Okay, cool. I'm going to make sure that all of that is in the show notes, and then I'm going to have a new Instagram hole that I can go into, and when I need to take my break, I'll definitely be following you on Instagram. And if you didn't hear, she did say they have funding, y'all. They have funding.
Yeah, specifically for nonprofits doing legal service work in Maryland. Yes, so we award grants to new grantees annually. I believe our grant process just wrapped up, but if you want to get ahead on the next fiscal year, go ahead and submit your application or reach out with questions. I did not link a website for UMB Cure, but I believe it's just umbcure.com, or you can simply them, learn how to get your kid into a program like that, or learn more about the program.
Love it. Well, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing the one resource that we have that we can never get back, and that's our time. So I really appreciate your time, and it was just really fun catching up with a VM alum. I'm sure that there's going to be many of these folks on the podcast because I spent many years in that that space. So thank you, Shawdae, and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
I will, and thank you all for hanging in there and to the end. And I recently heard on podcasts that they have end of podcasts like groups or something like that. So if you make it to the end of the podcast, like maybe I'll start like giving a raffle away or something like that. Like you have to answer a question. What was the last thing that Shawdae said? So I know you were listening. So, all right. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.